Well, I think we can just discuss it for a minute.
Yeah.
But what would you think? What comes to mind?
What are your possibilities?
What would be the obvious one?
Re-imprinting.
Okay. What are some other possibilities? There's some kind of parts integration or some disowned part that we want to integrate back in. Maybe we need to do both in some way. What else might we do?
Maybe 6-step reframing, getting the part that's made the mistake about.
Change personal history.
Change personal history, he's saying. Yeah.
Change history might do it. So think of all the different possibilities that are there. Quite a few.
And we do have a counterexample we could certainly use as a resource.
Or foreground background, those of you that know that process.
Yeah.
You can map across the functioning of one side to the other, which could be interesting.
So the important question is, what do you know now that you didn't know before? I mean, from all of what we've done.
Well, I've never related anything to that guy at all. I mean, that experience. You know, and even in all the NLP classes and everything, it's always been my bio dad rather than the stepdad that I've worked on or whatever. I've never thought of anything.
So when you moved to Oregon,
it was with
did he stay with your mother? I mean,
yeah, we all
grew up.
Yeah, for like teenage years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he ended up being a great father figure, but for the first 5 years, I couldn't stand
Well, he made you irrelevant in your own mind.
That's right. He dethroned you. I mean, think of that metaphor.
Yeah.
I'm not the king anymore. I'm not the big dude.
But if you go from being the king to not being relevant,
that's a huge step.
and there's nothing there. So just look in this big black space. There's nowhere to go, right? And the future, you know, it's kind of out here in the future, right? So it's moving out towards something, and there's nothing there.
And you know, I'd just like to ask one more question, if you wouldn't mind coming back over here. So now that we know all of that, about what happened when you had to move and you felt irrelevant, etc., how does that relate to what happened with your right arm? What some part of you must have made...
Well, this is my power side, I guess. I mean, I'm right-handed. Even though I've learned to write and do everything left-handed, it's still not, it's not the same. I'm definitely still right-handed.
This is where
I am dominant
natural
right
hand.
hand. So my power is gone. I mean, that's been what it cut off my arm. I mean, it cut my power.
Okay,
So,
great. Okay, thank you.
All right.
And did you see what...
I didn't even think about it.
And what's interesting is that it was going this way. So this maybe even when we think of somatic syntax, you know, getting your power back instead of throwing it away might be relevant. But for me, I wanted to know how does this relate to this particular symptom? And he has a full explanation. I mean, you know, I gave my power.
So when you get back to an early time that seems relevant, it's often good to ask that question: how is this connected?
Yeah, how is?
Sometimes you won't know. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. This one makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so you ready to change it?
Hell yeah, yeah.
Okay. So probably might be a good place to change it back here. So,
Yeah, let's come over here.
So actually, that's right. So look back in time.
We have the 10-year-old experience.
And what's this dude's name?
Neil.
Neil.
So look back and see Neil. And your mother is, what's her name?
Ruth.
Ruth.
So there's Neil and Ruth. And you have a brother in this, right?
Yeah, my brother is Gabe.
Gabe. Is he younger? Or
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is that the whole family system at this point?
Yeah, and a couple pets.
And a couple of pets.
Okay. So look out there and see yourself in that situation and what you were experiencing, but look at it through your grown-up eyes. And just get a sense of what young Jason's
If this
going
were
through.
somebody else that you were, some other family that you were looking at, what do you notice?
Yeah, I noticed the me person being pretty unhappy.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that? What does the young man need? A little.
Little Jason.
Reassurance.
And
Okay.
who would need to
From
give?
the
Well,
mom,
what kind of
yeah.
reassurance?
Reassurance that even though I'm not the largest male ape in the house, and that I'm still just as important as I was before.
Okay, so he needed to hear something from Ruth.
Right.
Did he need it from Neil as well?
That would have helped, definitely. Yeah.
And where's your birthday?
And back East Coast.
You didn't see him very often?
Actually, he lived in LA at the time. But yeah, he's not very relevant.
Not very
Yeah.
relevant.
So,
Which is kind of interesting. What did you need from him?
from my dad at that time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, the same would have been good. I mean, if there was some, I tried to go see him a lot more when that started to happen, when I moved, even though it wasn't helpful. But yeah, I needed more
You needed that from him as
protection.
well.
Yeah, some
You
kind
needed protection?
some kind of reassurance from my dad too, that
You did,
everything
didn't
was
you?
the same.
So little Jason out there needs to know he's okay, that he's important, that he's valued.
And he
Then
needs
he's-
to hear it from a number of different sources. He
Yeah.
needs to hear it from Ruth, he needs to hear it from Neil, and maybe from the regular dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who would you like to start with?
I think my mom.
Okay.
So what would she need as a resource? What was her
Inside.
positive intention in not observing this and saying something?
And not saying anything to me.
Yeah.
Or not, maybe not even, was she aware of it?
I just think she didn't know.
Yeah.
So she wasn't aware, but so what was her intention in not knowing and not noticing?
I think she was excited that she thought by bringing this person in, we would actually have a whole family, and that was her positive intention, was a whole. You know, he was going to replace the dad that I didn't really
So
have.
Okay.
here's a father figure that you need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's her positive intention.
Yeah.
So she's probably not even noticing your,
But you weren't embracing this fully.
Yeah, I think she noticed. I acted out quite a lot, but I don't know that she got why. Yeah.
Well, what would she have needed inside of her to notice and do something about it?
I think she would have needed to have been able to take my position and be able to look from my perspective of
So
what the
some
experience
compassion.
was. Yeah, empathy,
and
compassion.
empathy.
Yeah.
So we'll just anchor that here on this right side. So take a moment and find a really good example, Jason, of when you had that kind of empathy. You got one already?
And
So put
compassion.
yourself there. What's that feel like in your body? Where do you feel that? I'm
He-
just anchoring it here if you can't see it over there. And see her with that. Ruth has got that. And see her maybe even making a private moment with young Jason and really letting him know that he was valuable and important. Relevant.
Important.
And he's a really important part of the family, an important part of her life.
And you might even have her saying, I'm doing this so we can be a whole family.
How's that look?
Yeah, it feels better.
Float into her. Look through her eyes. Be her with young Jason.
So be Ruth there
Ruth.
with your little son.
And really get a sense of stepping in his shoes and what's this little boy going through. And
What's-
he's been the king of the house for a while. And he needs some reassurance.
He needs
So
to
you can
know he's
reassure with
okay.
your words, with your tone, with your look, with helping him see the future that he's going into. So do a little painting of the future for him,
Explain to him what's coming up.
and that he's going to be an important part of it for everybody.
Yeah, I just got lost there again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Be her.
Be her.
Be her. See this little boy
Actually,
and
you're-
understand what he's going through. As you look through those eyes, you can see Jason's got some questions and
Yeah.
fears.
He knows he's relevant, he's important, and he's part of things. He has his place. Then he might take going out to a new state as an adventure. not
And
a-
you know just what to say to him as Ruth.
That's right.
Just how to hold him. How to be with him.
I'm her right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let him know that the future's coming, and he's an important part of it. Reassure him about his place in the family. And the fact is, nobody can take his place. He's the first son and the only one that can be in that role. And that's the right role to be in.
And acknowledge that there's a transition, and it's not necessarily always going to feel smooth.
That's right.
But he can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Float into young Jason. You get a sense of your mother Ruth is there, giving you that reassurance that you just get a sense of that relief. You know what that feels like, that sense of relief.
Because you know what to expect.
That you're a whole person.
It's going to be just an exciting adventure.
How's this?
It's okay. There's another incident that came up that makes part of me not trust this.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's good. We want it coming up now, not
Yes.
later. So what is that?
And
That is.
is this an earlier or
Yeah,
later?
Yeah. When I was like 4 or something, when my parents got divorced, my mom had to kind of escape from my dad, so she left us for like 6 months in order to do that.
With him?
Yeah, but we didn't know where she went. So.
Okay. So do this.
Sense of abandonment.
Look back to that time. And see little Jason. And see him just before she leaves. You've got information now he did not have, right?
What do you know now?
What do you
Yeah,
know?
that she was doing it in our best interest.
Right.
Yeah.
And if she didn't do it that way, she might not have been able to pull it off.
Right.
So freeze frame everything, but except little Jason. He's the only thing that can move. So everything else is like in between time. And see yourself as you are now, your grown-up self. And go over and pick him up, put him on your knee, and explain to him what's going on.
You're from his future, the
Let him-
Jason of the future.
Let him know who you are.
Yeah.
And then explain to him what's happening.
Yeah. Until you see a recognition on the face of this little 4-year-old that's sitting on your lap.
He can begin to relax with
Yeah.
understanding.
Oh.
Got that?
And it might be really important that you tell him you're always there for him. You're the one he can count on. The you of the future. To be there as his best friend. To lead him through the tough times. He always has you.
Just get a sense of this compassion. Just feel this for this little kid. So that's that same anchor again.
And watch him change with understanding at age 4.
And become that child.
Because he's had that conversation.
And be the child with your grown-up self. And as that child, look all the way through time to now. So you get a sense that you're going through life's process, but all the way to 2010.
Okay.
So you can see, you can look past the 6-month time. You'll be back with your mom in a few months. You get to be king of the house for a while. Then you get to learn that you're important.
In a
Forever.
different way.
You get to grow up and do interesting things, like come to NLP trainings. Got a sense of that as the child? Now, just kind of let that grown-up self go, grow up from 4 to 5. Actually, let's do this. Just take this sense that you've got. Imagine going to 3 to 2 to 1 to being in the womb. All the way back in time. Taking all the resources you need to just before conception.
You might even tap into the core state you had yesterday when you were doing that exercise and adding it to all your ancestors.
And even from this point of being at the point of conception, look all the way through time, through the 4-year-old time, through the 9 and 10-year-old times, to the moving and growing up in Oregon times.
Knowing that you've always been relevant. You've always been whole.
And then just do it. Take this and grow up to birth, to 1, to 2, to 3. Take this into the 4-year-old time and What's your sense now? What belief are you forming with this?
There's a much larger space than the incidents that are happening at the time.
Okay.
So get the big picture.
Mhm.
That's what's helping
Yeah.
here. That moment isn't frozen anymore.
Mhm.
When you get these imprints, they're going to be frozen in the
Yeah.
moment. And so we want to be
Mhm.
able to, this is the perfect answer.
Mhm.
So take that through that time.
Up to age 10.
Yeah, it's
And
just
then
funny, all the stuff that happens. It's
Okay.
just like humorous.
And you might even take it into thinking about leaving that little 9-year-old girl that didn't even know you cared about her. Yeah.
Mm.
And as you're that 10-year-old, get a sense of not only is your mother giving you this kind of empathy, but Neil's recognizing it too and acknowledging who you are.
And having a little heart-to-heart talk with you about,
Sense his support.
I'm not going to be your real father, but I'm going to be a father to you, and I'm not
And you're
replacing
important. You're
you.
relevant.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah. I want us to be a whole family.
Get a sense of even your birth dad sending you the kind of positive reassurance that you are somebody in the world.
Yeah.
And your little brother. So it's just part of a family system is recognizing who you and what you are.
The system is whole, and you're whole.
And through all that 10-year-old time, into young teenage times,
And you can own all parts of you, Jason.
to young 20s,
Your right side
all the way to now.
and your left side.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All the way to now.
So that every part of you is relevant also.
And in this moment, just take this shoulder and move it a bit. And notice how it moves with ease. Really get a sense of that movement on that shoulder. This one.
You've developed a lot.
Really get a
movement.
sense of that. Run your tongue all along the inside of your teeth and feel this shoulder. So maybe a little reorganization training for himself. Take a big breath and step back to metta position.
Wow.
So what questions do you have for the group?
What questions? Let's see. Okay. What do we call it when you go take your older self back to your younger self for comfort? Tim,
Yeah,
have
what's the
Tim
point
do
of that? Yeah, what would we call
What's
it?
the point of it, and what would we call it? How's it feel?
I don't have any words. It's big. Largeness.
Largeness. Yeah.
Just like the incidents are insignificant relative to the feeling around them. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I think you should go back over there.
Let's take it here first.
Oh,
What's there? What's going on there?
yeah. Let's
So-
see.
So tell us about what's happening now.
He was just telling us while you were busy writing.
What I just said.
Uh-huh.
Well, it just feels like my life history as a human is just stuff that happened.
Can y'all hear?
But
His life history is stuff that happened.
but it's not. It's weird. It feels like there's a soul level of understanding and a human level, which is just all the minutia of this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. But that stuff is just there's a larger space around that.
Lovely. Step back.
Okay, and what are you
What do you
noticing?
notice that's different in the present state, in the symptom than it was the first time?
Than when we first came here? What has shifted? What physiological shifts and voice tone
what's different
shifts
now?
did you notice in the symptom this last time? It's different than the first time we put him there. Besides the great big smile. Yeah. Nice, huh?
I can barely contain it.
It's testing.
Yeah, step back in there. What will it be like for you
Well,
from this
actually,
moment?
even before that, what's the space
Yeah,
look
yeah.
like?
It looks like I can see it. I can't describe it yet, but like when you lose a scab kind of thing, and you have that light-colored skin that's new.
So there's a newness here.
Yeah, or like grass that's new relative to what's around it. Yeah.
It's a nice
new.
metaphor.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like new life.
Yeah, it's still really tender and shouldn't be touched too much, but
In other words, it's developing.
yeah.
Yeah. Which would be appropriate for how long?
And the feeling in my arm is that it actually, I'm glad that you can verify for me that it's not a foot longer than my left one, because it feels like it's a lot longer than my left arm.
You know what I noticed? How many of you noticed that a couple of times when he was doing the re-imprinting, he dropped his shoulder? You all notice that? It's like
He's
there's
been
something
holding on
letting
to
go.
it. Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's this tightness through here, but it feels like a tightness born of stretching. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Now try just raising
Yeah.
it up.
I can feel that little tendency back here, but I mean, for me to be in front of this many people, the nervousness would normally make it do its thing, but
So-
not anymore.
Let's do one more piece here with that. And that would be, what's it like right here? Just move that shoulder
Those are kind of the...
in tiny motions and feel the incremental. Notice how it is right there. And notice how you've got that organized. Got a sense of that? And I'm just anchoring that. Don't do anything with this hand, but just notice how you're organized that. Got it? Okay. Do it again. Really get a sense of that. And if you had a sense of that as the movement, what would it look like in your mind? The motion. So
Of what
kind
I'm
of see
doing?
it.
Small circles.
Just however you
Small
represent
circles.
that.
Yeah.
Got it? Now, wiggle your toes. Notice which shoe is the tightest. Now check out this shoulder.
A little bit, but
A little bit different.
yeah, it changes.
You're moving it a little bit different. So that's
Yeah, it moves down, changes from here to here to.
it's on its way
now it
out.
feels, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
trick.
So
And
later
I
on we
have
can
one
explore
more
that
thing
more.
I want to do, too.
Y'all can do anything you want to do.
Come back over here.
Yeah. As long as you guys are okay.
Okay, this is age 8. I want you to step back into being 8 again.
Okay.
Okay? You remember how much fun that was?
Yeah.
You said, I just need to be 8 again,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So really be that whimsical 8-year-old kid. And I suspect he had some skills and abilities and in terms of the states he could access that would be really helpful right now. So let's just waltz those right on over to this current moment. And you can bring everything that you had when you were 8 right now to this moment in time. You don't need to leave that behind. So
You can keep these 8-year-old movements.
Yes,
as long as
yes. That carefreeness. And that can go on in your future, however far you want it to go. And it can inform the movements that you need in all parts of your body from this
Cool.
moment on.
Unself-conscious.
Unself-conscious, okay. Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Couldn't resist that.
Okay. That'd be a good resting place for this. Do a lot of good unconscious work.
Thank you.
So,
So we'll let you, we'll say thank you unless.
His posture was very different, and the symptom, he was more closed, and the outcome, he was more open. And I could just see more expansion in his...
Right.
he's more like this, right? He's,
Right,
I mean, if you notice he's looking down, he's more in his body.
Yeah, and holding the shoulder tie. More, so, more
He's
symmetrical.
less symmetrical here, right?
Yes,
Excellent.
Even calling face, like more pink there.
There was more color in his face in the outcome than in the symptom. Yes.
In the outcome, his chest was more open and wide, and his
Uh-huh.
eyes were up.
Right.
Yep, exactly. He looked far more present, didn't he?
Right. John?
He had a near full range of movement in outcomes, even at the very start.
Right, he had full range of movement. Yes.
Medical, everything was there already.
That's the biggest thing I
That was
noticed.
the biggest difference, yeah.
Because when he was in symptom, he barely moved his right hand like this.
Right.
Here, a few times he started already going there.
Right, And then when he went to the effect, what were the differences between the outcome and the effect?
He was more integrated and more in his body. And
He was more associated, and how could you tell that? You saw moisture in the eyes, you heard it in the voice, like you could tell he was fully associated.
And how many of you noticed he was his tonalities at a different, was it really different here? Here he's
was.
talking like this.
Yeah.
Usually that's going to be a deeper neurological level.
With air in the voice.
Kristen? More presence, yeah.
Yeah. He was taller.
He was taller.
In the effect.
So each one of these is really very different, isn't it? So you start thinking of, again, I could overstate this probably, but you know, if you're sitting in a chair the whole time, I don't think you can do really good work with anybody. Well, I think you can, but I think it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to keep it all sorted, and it's going to be a lot easier for Jason if it's sorted, because he can start to learn about himself when it's sorted out that way. So whenever, unless there's some physical reason why you can't do it, I would almost
somebody
always work standing up. Even if I'm on the phone with a client, I'll ask them to stand typically and move around, because if they do, they're going to be a whole lot more effective doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
It's more like coaching, where you might be doing sort of a chat kind of thing, like keeping somebody online. May be less important, but I think when you're
If you're doing any intervention.
if you're doing intervention or change work or that kind of thing, I would recommend having them move.
I just want to comment that he was much brighter here. His
Much
eyes were
brighter.
clearer, and I could see just
There was
everything.
more life in him, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And his energy was definitely really different.
This would be I think a really useful one to get the video
The DVD on, yeah.
from Paul, because I think you'll see all that stuff,
You'll
and
see
it's
all
I
that,
think
yeah.
great learning when you pick out those differences.
Now, when he came back over again to the symptom, where did he keep moving his eyes? Was he looking up here? Over there? Down here? No, he was over here, right?
We know what was interesting to me is he looked to his right. He looked down, but he looked straight across a lot. And he said, "I just go blank. There's no words here," when I asked him to talk
Right.
with that hand.
And from where I was standing over here, it almost looked like he was going into telephone posture, you know, to cock his head to listen.
To listen. But what else did he say about what was here?
What
Remember?
was there?
That big black hole?
Hole.
And so this is silence.
Silent.
Silence. So there's nothing there. If you look over to the right, it's often putting things into words or trying to put things into words. And there was nothing to
there.
put into words on the right side, because it was separated away from the rest of Jason.
Okay, what did